It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in.
I purchased my first property with only $3,000. And right now that property is worth about a little under $500,000. And the way I really did that was through grants, was through utilizing strategies to make sure that I could pay the littlest amount possible for my home purchase. So I was able to use first-time homebuyer grants, and I was able to negotiate seller pay closing in order to only come to the table with $3,000. I also received first-time homebuyer grants from DC, provides a lot of first-time homebuyer grants. And then when I was purchasing my duplex, which was my second property, that I purchased that one for about $500,000, and I was able to receive $17,000 grant from Bank of America for down payment and closing cost assistance. So just wanted to come on here real quick and not only share my story, but just give some tips and tricks of what I've learned along the way in terms of how to not only access these grants, but how to also utilize these grants to your advantage to build a real estate portfolio. A lot of people think that, it's only a lot of these grants are only restricted to first-time home buyers. But as I mentioned, I was able to buy a duplex with a $17,000 grant.
Oops, I was on mute. Amazing. So could you walk us, so I know that you use certain programs on each of your purchases. Can you walk us through each of them? Like just the process, like the program you used?
So when I bought my first property, I was actually in way over my head. Like I said, I only had $3,000. I had no business buying a property. But if there is a God, there is a way. So the first property, I was able to get a $5,000 grant from my lender. My lender helped me get the $5,000 grant. It was like some organization in Atlanta or something. So it really wasn't even a local organization. So don't restrict yourself to what you just see locally or what you hear about. There's a plethora of resources throughout the country. So make sure you look into those. The top people that I would say go to first is your real estate agent and your lender, because they should know some type of programs, or they should be able to direct you to programs to help you find those grants. So that $5,000 grant that I received, I didn't even know about that organization. I just had to do a 60-minute homebuyer course, which I was kind of like, I'm a CPA, do I still need to do this? But I would do whatever they tell me to do because they were giving me $5,000. So it was over the phone. I sat with the woman for like 60 minutes and she just walked through some information, I guess, to make sure that home buyers are ready for the home purchase and things like that. And that was pretty much it. And I was able to get the $5,000 grant. On top of that, DC also has some really good first-time homebuyer programs. So the first things I always tell people is make sure you look not only at the federal level, like the federal government has first-time homebuyer programs, look at your state and local level. Almost every state, I want to say every state, but almost every state has first-time homebuyer programs. And if you live in a high cost of living city like DC, New York, LA, they especially have those programs because they know that it's so hard for people to purchase, and they're trying to encourage low-income and middle-class individuals to purchase property. So that is definitely the first place that you should look at your locality, your state, see what homebuyer programs are available. I usually just Google it, and to make sure you're going to the correct sites, make sure you go to a site that ends in .gov. That's usually the best indicator of if it's an official website or not. So the way it works is that you pay recordation costs when you close. It's basically taxes that you pay when you transfer ownership. Recordation costs are going to be different depending on your jurisdiction, depending on your state. DC's recordation costs were really expensive. They were about like $3,500 for the seller and for the buyer. So what happens is that if you are a first-time home buyer, DC actually waives your recordation tax, so you don't have to pay that at closing. So it was $3,500 that I was able to save from their first-time home buyer program. And then what they do is the seller's recordation costs get transferred to you. So not only was my recordation costs wiped out and waived, but now the seller's recordation costs were actually provided to me as an additional little grant there. So it was really helpful there getting that $5,000 grant. And then also, I think it came out to be about lowering my closing costs by about $7,000. I don't know how, but I feel like look, I'm not the lender, that's their job, not mine, but the seller paid closing costs. So the seller paid closing costs. I don't know if he paid the total amount of closing costs and didn't incorporate the $7,000 difference. I really don't know. All I know is when I received my final statement, like a week before closing, they gave me my statement and I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. Like, this is not, I thought that I got all this money, like the seller is paying closing. I got this $5,000 grant. Like I got 7,000 from DC. Like, why is this so high? Like, why do I still have to bring so much money to the table? And so then I looked at it again and it said money to borrower. And I'm like, wait, is this money that I'm getting at the closing table? And it was like $4,500, mind you. At that time, all I had put down was my $3,400 earnest money deposit. So I'm like, that doesn't make any sense if I put down $3,400 for a property and I'm going to the closing table and I'm getting $4,600. I'm like, I'm making money by buying this house. So I called my lender and I asked her for clarification and she was like, oh, oops. No, the organization that gave me the $5,000 do not allow you to receive more than $250 back, like $250 back. So what she did was that extra $4,000 or whatever, she just did a reduction of principal. So it actually, I didn't lose the money. It just went to reducing my principal. And then when I got to the closing table, I got a check for $250. So I didn't even have to like come out of pocket anything. It was great. And that really skyrocketed me into real estate and really showed me how easy it is to invest in real estate. And had I known that before, I would have probably purchased my first home much, much, much sooner. Like I said, I was in way over my head. I did end up getting 2 roommates. I house hacked, so my roommates were helping cover the mortgage, which then helped me save to purchase my next property. The rest is history. But yeah, so I definitely utilized those grants for my first property. And what I tell people is buy a home early in your career, or encourage your kids or your nieces, your nephews or whatever to buy property early in their careers, because I literally was about $3,000 a year under the threshold to be eligible for that DC first time home buyer grant of $7,000. So had my job paid me just $3,000 more a year, I would have lost out on that $7,000 benefit. So I definitely encourage people to do that. And that's what someone actually told me when I was still in grad school. And it to this day, I'm like, that was the best decision I ever made, because after I purchased my home, I got a new job, my income skyrocketed. I would not have been eligible for a lot of those first time home buyer programs.
Got it. Got it. You mentioned that it was your realtor that told you about this organization in Atlanta, I believe, right?
My lender.
Your lender. Do you recommend people working with a lender who is savvy and open to down payment programs or in grants and stuff? Or is that something that me as a buyer, I can go to a lender like, hey, I'm trying to buy property. I want to use this loan or this program or whatever. What is that like? Because I think that's something people are probably wondering, who needs to know, who needs to be involved, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Like I would say, utilize all your resources. Whoever is in the home buying process, ask them. It does not hurt to ask questions. What I usually recommend people do before you choose a lender is actually talk to lenders. You can talk to lenders for free. They don't have to pull your credit or anything like that. You can just inquire with the mortgage department, and you can tell them like, I'm looking to buy a mortgage. I want to learn more information, or are there first time home buyer programs or whatever. Lenders generally will usually talk to you for free and give you that information. I know when I was interested in my first property, I just kind of booked an appointment with my credit union. So I was actually able to sit down with her. She was actually able to walk me through things, and she didn't have to run my credit or anything. In fact, she did like a soft inquiry that it didn't impact my credit, but just so we can gauge where I was at. So I did that a lot. I think I had 3 lenders actually that I was speaking with at that time. And then I told all of them to pull my credit at the exact same time when I was ready to move forward. And then I just kind of like went with the one lender who gave me the best interest rate and the best information. So like, you're not going to know everything on your own. That's why it's really important to have a good team, have a good real estate agent that's actually invested in you. Have a real estate agent who does it full time, who like, this is their job. They want you to be successful. They want to get their fee. They want to get paid. And same with the lender. Something I will note is that credit union lenders aren't paid based on commission. So you might get better rates and you might get better interest rates and things like that. But I found that the lenders who are getting paid on commission, like private, lending, mortgage companies or whatever, they're more likely to push things through, and they're more likely to be on it because they're getting a commission, they're more likely to want you to be successful in this. That's the only thing I will note, but I did end up going with my credit union just because they had the best interest rates. Credit unions tend to usually always have the best interest rates. I went with them. Highly, highly recommend going with a lender who is knowledgeable about first-time homebuyer programs, a lender and a real estate agent who can guide you, because how are you going to know? That's probably not your expertise. So you're going to need to have a good team to help guide you through that process.
It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in.
Hi everyone, Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Make sure to hit that notification bell and that subscribe button, and to visit us at blackrealestatedialogue.com.